Kept you waiting, huh? The results of the Ogata Democratic duel are in. In case you missed the last bold bason, I set up a voting box for my students, expecting them to ignore it. Instead, the grade 2 and 3 girls formed an intense rivalry, and they voted like demons. After 2 weeks, I took the box down to count the ballots and survey the damage. The results are shocking. This is what my students thought made the best gifts: candy, iPhone 15, money, and friends. I must put an asterisk next to friends, as they voted for boyfriends or girlfriends, which made me laugh reading the ballots. It's such a typical teenager response. But as a teacher, I gotta cool down their Christmas romance fantasies. So when I made my poster and reported the data, I just wrote down friends. I was a little surprised so many voted for materialistic and superficial things as a gift, but looking back when I was their age, I pretty much wanted the same things. Video games, books, a new gaming console. These were on the top of my wish list when I was 15. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to want that kind of stuff, but as you age, you learn to value family and companionship more than material possessions. That's the story of Christmas. The voting box has been laid to rest for now, but a new 2024 election is just around the corner. I hope the running is just as cutthroat. A-Jet went ice skating. There are precious few rinks in Shikoku, one in Ehime and the other in Kagawa. Despite the long distance, my partner and I organized another fantastic event with a great turnout, about 16 people total. I was on the ice for 4 hours, enjoying myself and taking footage to craft a video for the Kochi A-Jet page. Turns out, to no one's surprise but my own, that was way too long a time spent on the ice, as my legs were sore and my poor feet had blisters the next day. As for how other people fared, I noticed a lot of first-time skaters at this event, but I saw huge improvements in everyone. At one point I got to show my friends how to skate backwards. They were impressed and tried their best, but it's a skill that requires more than a single day's worth of practice to master. Everyone had a good time, and they were happy with the video I made for them. That's the last Kochi A-Jet event planned for 2023, but my partner and I will be back with a vengeance in 2024 for more A-Jet shenanigans. Watch out, Kochi. To run you through my marathon training schedule and diet, no pun intended, every day I eat a high-protein breakfast, which is either fried eggs or sausage, and I make a protein chocolate peanut butter oatmeal, which is tasty. It's like eating healthy Reese's Pieces for breakfast. Of course, I wash it all down with strong black coffee. My goal is to eat about 70 to 80 grams of protein a day from lean protein sources. Not necessarily for the marathon, but so I can lose weight and build muscle at the same time. For lunch, I eat kyushoku, which is Japanese school lunch. School lunch usually is carbohydrate heavy and contains pasta, rice, ramen, curry, potatoes, and soup and milk. School lunch has a variety of meat, often fish, which is healthy and delicious. I'll have a snack around 10 a.m. My go-to is a protein bar. For dinner, I spend a part of an afternoon every week meal prepping. I make a variety of meals. I love high-protein soup and stews with kabocha, which is Japanese pumpkin, sweet potatoes, carrots, onions, mushrooms, and regular potatoes. For meat, I cook with beef or chicken, sometimes with extra ground meat or tofu thrown in for a protein kick. Sometimes I slow cook some pork chops as well. If I want more variety, I'll cook pasta with lots of chicken. Typically this is an Alfredo, which is super easy to make and also super delicious. I'll also make a spicy chicken fajita on rice, which warms my soul on bone-chilling winter nights. If I'm feeling snackish, I'll have oranges or apples lying around the house, which I'll help myself to. After I've finished a hard exercise day, I'll have a protein milkshake as a reward. Outside of food, I exercise every day, starting with roughly an hour of some sort of cardio, running, walking, biking, or hiking. I've been healing my knee, so I've stuck to biking, up a mountain and around the sea, which has been quite cold. After freezing my butt off, I do dumbbell weight exercises, alternating between upper body and lower body. I don't take a break from exercise, but I usually look forward to it every day. There are days where it's a little harder to give myself the push to get going, and I feel weak or tired or sore, but I just go anyways. There has never been a time where I've regretted doing a workout. Recently, I talked with my JTEs and I got to teach students about some of Canada's interesting and dark history as part of English class. Despite being a young country, Canada didn't escape the 20th century without its share of darkness and inhumanity. The two topics I covered were Japanese internment camps in World War II, as well as residential schools, and the Canadian government's assimilation policies. My junior high grade 3 students were in their human rights chapter, and I thought these would be great topics to cover. Students were surprised to learn that Japanese Canadians actually lived in Canada during World War II, and were even more surprised that during wartime, these people were placed into camps. But when I reversed the roles and asked them what would happen to me if Canada and Japan were to go to war right now, they said I would be deported, jailed, or even killed. As for the First Nations and residential schools, the intensity and brutality of assimilation surprised my students. After my presentation, I asked them about their own native population, the Ainu, and how they have faced discrimination and assimilation. As always with these difficult topics, I try to present the factual historical information and let the students think for themselves and come to their own conclusions. And I try not to give leading questions. I attempt to protect my students from my own bias and influence. I want to teach them to think and love English and love life, and that's where my job ends. My hope is that if they're ever placed in a position where they have the option to do something inhumane, they will have the strength to do whatever results in the least human suffering. Kochi held its annual JET mid-year conference early December, with all the excitement and dread that brings. For many, the ALT teaching conferences are dull, agonizing affair where you sit and listen to presentations all day, and are rewarded by a late night of partying, karaoke, and drinking. The conference information is aimed at first-year Jets and is the most salient for them. So, for the more experienced ALTs, a majority of the information is a dull refresher. Despite this, attendance is mandatory. In the past, I must admit, my mindset towards these conferences was a negative one. I went into the conferences thinking I already knew everything about teaching and being an ALT, and that everything they would tell me was a boring waste of time. After all, I was already an ALT. Wouldn't that make me the expert on the matter? Who are these people to tell me how to do my job? So, like many conference goers, I shut my brain off and ignored the tedious lectures, daydreaming about what I would do after instead. This is, of course, not an effective or productive mindset to have. Listening and paying attention to the boring conference lectures is important. Why? Because even if you learn just one single thing, it could be something important you'll use later. But if you aren't listening, you'll miss it. For safety information, it could even be something that could help you save lives or save your own life. Which is more likely? I'm an ALT that is truly an expert at his craft, and I know better than the people lecturing me. Or, I'm not as good as I could be, I should humble myself, drop my ego, and open my mind to learn, even if it seems boring and repetitive to do so. So I set a goal for myself at the conference and turned it into a game. To win my game, I needed to become more knowledgeable than the speaker themselves on their given topic, and figure out how to take the theoretical learning models and make something practical out of them. So I took the conference and lectures deadly serious and took legit notes, paid attention, asked questions when I needed to, and I participated in group activities cheerfully. Here's what I learned. For teaching, students and people love contributing their opinions and ideas. It's a part of communication. They might even love it more than playing games. You should give students more autonomy and control, and make lessons and games relevant to them. This will increase their enjoyment and increase their learning. And the ultimate goal of activities and games is to have students learn and not realize they're learning. For Japanese law, I learned it's illegal to harvest some wild plants, and it's also illegal to have someone send you money from Japan back to your home country. You have to transfer money through a bank. Also, you have to call the police and make a report if you have a pedestrian accident as a cyclist. For safety information, I downloaded a new natural disaster app. This will allow me to more easily contact my region, spread disaster information, and protect them and protect myself in case of emergency. I also obtained a major disaster emergency phone number for Japan for the same reasons. So there you go. 16 hours worth of me working hard, taking notes, and paying attention, and that's what I learned. You just learned those things by watching a 10-minute Bold Basson. You're welcome. I did all the hard work for you. But to be brutally honest, I don't think I learned everything I could, and making activities has been a real challenge. Still, I'm satisfied I came away from the conference a stronger, smarter, and more prepared person. That's better than being arrogant and thinking I already know everything and that the conference was a waste of time. That's all for now. Take care and be bold.